So today's video is gonna be very quick but very important, because let me show you this. When I submitted my app a couple days ago, I always got this email right here that always told me that my app was rejected, and it was because of this reason. Your app must set the proper frame ancestors content security policy directive to avoid click-jacking attacks. The content security policy header should set frame ancestors, and it always should set the frame ancestors with this URL, which is the shop URL of the merchant shop, and also this https admin.shopify.com, and that's it. That's all they're gonna tell you. And I've tried so many times, like you can see here, I've tried it a couple of times, and I didn't know what they wanted from me, because I didn't really understand what this meant. But eventually I got it to work, and finally my app was able to submit. And this is actually very important, because before anybody at Shopify is actually testing your app, your app will go through some automated tests from Shopify, and they will test all kinds of stuff, and this is one of them. So they will also test your response headers, and if your response header doesn't have this property right here, then your app will get rejected. So today I want to show you how you can add this response header to every document that you send from your app. Again, we're in a Laravel app. We're using this OCSet package, and I already showed you how you can install this OCSet package and how to create a Shopify app. So this is one of the last steps within your app development, right? And also one of the most important steps, because if you don't pass this step, then you won't be able to submit your app, right? Okay, so that's what I want to show you today, because I've tried so many times, and it was a hard time for me to find out how this works. All right, now let's jump right into the project. So in order for your app to add some response headers to any requests, you will need a middleware. So the first thing that we will have to do is we will have to create a middleware. So we're gonna say PHP artisan make middleware, and I'm gonna call my middleware content security policy, right? And we can now see here that a new middleware was created, and it has this middleware here. It has this class here, content security policy, with this handle method, and that's all there is as of now. And the first thing that we want to do is we want to create some class variables. The first variable is gonna be our format that we need. So we want our format to say frame ancestors. Then we're gonna need our shop URL, and then we're gonna need our admin URL, right? So first I'm gonna say protected. It's gonna be a const, and it's gonna say header format. I'm gonna say frame ancestors, and later on we're gonna say it will have to have a string right here and another string. So that's gonna be our shop URL, and it's gonna be our admin URL, right? Next, we can already say it's gonna be our admin Shopify URL. So it's gonna be https admin.shopify.com, right? Okay. So now we're gonna go to this handle method right here. So what this does right here is just it returns the request as we got it, but we don't want that here as of yet. We need to cut this out, and we're gonna say this is gonna be our response. I'm gonna set it equal to that. We're gonna return the response at the end. So I'm gonna say return the response here. Now we have to find out how we get this shop data to return in our response, right? And whenever we are making a request, the shop data should be in the URL of that request, or it should be somewhere within that request. And now it's up to us to extract that data, to extract that information from that request, right? So first of all, we're gonna make sure that we don't have a response from a AJAX request or a redirect response, right? So first of all, we're gonna say if response instance of response and it's not a request AJAX. I'm going to say response here. Okay, so now we can go ahead. So now the first case would be the request already contains the shop data, which would be the best case. So I'm going to say if request has the shop parameter, then we want this shop domain. And we will get the shop domain from within our OCSET package, but we do not want the contracts. We want this objects and values right here, right? So, and this shop domain has a method. It's called from native, and it will need this parameter request get shop, right? I need the semicolon. So now we would have the shop domain in that case. If we don't get the shop domain in that case, then we might try to get the shop domain from the user. And we're going to import our user model right here. And then we can try to get our shop domain from the user data. And then we can try to get our shop domain from the user data, and we can say shop domain equals the request, and that request will have a user, and from that user we can try to get that get domain method. And if that doesn't work, and then we can try to get it from the request data. So let's say else, say shop domain, and we're gonna say shop domain from request, and we're gonna pass that request in here. All right, so those are the 3 ways to get the shop domain. Now, one of those 3 ways should have worked. All right, so you can check it later. One of those worked, hopefully for you. In my case, it did. So the next thing that we want to say is, so if we have a shop domain, we need to check if we have a shop domain at all. Otherwise, we're gonna end in an error. So, and then now we can create our response headers, right? So we're gonna say response, and we're gonna say header, and now we're gonna add this content security policy, and now we're gonna say print sf, right? And now we need this, that's why we created the string up here in this weird format. So we're gonna say we're gonna get the class variable header format in here. That's gonna be our first parameter, and this first parameter defines the format of the string that we want to create. So it says frame ancestors, and it expects a string and a string after that. All right, so the next string will be our shop domain. It's gonna say to native, right? As we can see here in the email that we got, so it says frame ancestors, and it will need the shop domain right here, and after that it will just need our admin URL. So again, we're gonna say header format, I'm sorry, admin Shopify URL. All right, and that's that. And add a semicolon. I will also need this HTTPS / in here. Something is still missing. Let me check what's missing. Okay, I just forgot to close this bracket right here. Okay, so it still underlines this header right here. Right now, I'm not quite sure why that is. We'll find out later maybe, but actually that response should have a header method, but we will, yeah. I'll come back to that later maybe. Sometimes it just underlines for no reason. Okay, so now we have created this middleware right here, and now we want to register this middleware, and because for every request that we get to our app, it should go through this middleware right here and add a response header to the response, right? And we can do that by opening up our kernel PHP, and we have this list of middlewares here. So we have three different types of middlewares. Either we have just this middleware right here, which is a global middleware for every request. Then we have these middleware groups right here that we can add to certain groups, right? And we have this route middleware right here where we could name our middleware and just put that a certain middleware just on certain routes, so we have more control over that. But we don't want any of those down here. We want our content security policy to be part of this middleware right here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say app HTTP middleware, and we got our content security policy right here, and say class, right? So now it has registered our content security policy, and now I can go ahead and install my app. And if I install my app, then I should come in here and I will turn on my Xdebug, so I can go through step by step and check if everything is working as expected. I will set a breakpoint right here. I will turn on my Xdebug. If you don't have Xdebug installed, then I highly recommend it. I can also make a video on how to make on how to create or how to install Xdebug, but I'm sure you will find that out, right? So all right, so let's go to the store and let's check if everything worked. Oh, and just before we continue, I found out why this header was underlined as wrong, and it seemed like header was no method of response. That was because I imported the wrong response object here. So I have now imported this illuminate HTTP response as HTTP response, and yeah, now we have this header is available as a response, right? So let's continue. I'm now at my dashboard, and I will now install my app right here. All right, so you can take a look at my request right here, and you can see it here on the left side. You can see all the variables, and if you go down, then you can see here the query, and we have this shop parameter, and it says l4devshop.myshopify.com, which is exactly my shop domain. And what I have got now is I got my shop domain from this request. Now we have shop domain right here. Now if we go one step ahead, everything is working fine, and I can now take a look at my response right here. I can now go down, take a look at my response headers, and now I have added this content security policy to my response headers. It now says frame ancestors, L4devshop, admin Shopify, and it's just exactly the same the same format as Shopify wants me to return in my response header, right? So I can now go through this. If I go back to my app, okay, now we have a 504, but if I would refresh and do everything again, then everything should work. And if you have done it this way, then your app will also get accepted, or maybe not accepted, but at least you will be able to submit your app. And that's what we all want at the end, right? So I hope that was helpful for you, because it really took me a long time to understand what they want from me and how that works, but I finally got it to work, and I hope you also will get it to work. This is only working with Laravel, with a Laravel application, but it has to be similar with a Node app as well. So you can also set response headers with a Node app, but I'm not quite sure how you would get the shop domain within your Node app. But if you're a Node developer, maybe you won't even watch until the end. But anyway, so that's that from me. I hope that was helpful. If it was, please leave a like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. All right, bye bye.